Let's mute it. Where's the mute?
What?
Can you lip read?
I know I can hear you now.
I was muted.
I'm not sure why it suddenly started recording on its own.
I know, I noticed it was recording.
I'll have to think about that, but okay, we want it to be recording.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go and try a poll question at the moment. Oh, hang on. I'm not looking.
Right.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Can you see the poll?
Yes.
Well, go on then, vote.
Vote, okay.
What are you voting for?
I'm testing.
There you are.
Right, okay, thank you very much.
Oh,
It is now working. Who is the? Ooh. Who's the other one? Doesn't sound like Martin.
It looks like it's Martin. No picture though, but he's muted.
Oh,
There he is.
Yeah, okay. Who was the laughing voice? Was that?
That was Sue.
yeah.
Right. Good. So I just had to reboot my computer because it didn't seem to be working properly.
I got this one yesterday, Tom.
Oh yeah, no, I'm thinking of buying one too. Yes.
Yeah, there's not much change from the previous one, but there are a few odd minor things which I haven't read through it too completely yet.
No, yeah. You're pushing me. I probably will go and buy one today. I'll probably have to have it as a Christmas present. Everything I buy at the moment, Mary is claiming is a Christmas present.
Ah, right. Oh, wonder if I can get Sue to pay for this one then.
Well, I mean, all our money is the same, so you know it doesn't matter whether I pay for it or Mary pays for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Ooh, right, good.
Good morning.
Morning, Claire.
Who's that? Oh, it's Claire.
Yeah.
I think there was a bit of a muck up with the invites. Oh, and here's Nikki. So just while we're waiting,
What's that middle picture?
Somebody's artwork.
Can I see that? Can I check that we can see the screen?
I'm waiting for the video to start.
while we're waiting, I would just like to show the.
Tom, you're showing off again.
I think you can all do it, can't you? I don't know. Most people should be able to.
How do you do it?
Well, it's if you go.
Right.
Well, I think you can probably do it from the main menu, but if you look at the bottom at the video button, if you click the little arrow beside the video button, you can choose the virtual background, which I think you have, or
Oh yeah.
choose video filter, which is what gives you it.
Oh, it was art on the wall.
And there are there are lots to choose from.
Love the hat, Tom.
And now you're all in
For the moment.
3D. You see, that's brilliant.
That's fine, I think.
Do we just have to?
Stop being.
So, who's that under, Tom?
That I don't know. See Claire. No, Claire. Yeah.
Claire?
Oh,
Yeah,
we're not
that's
really.
me.
Yeah. Hello, Nathan. Hello, Sonia.
So we haven't got Maria yet.
Martin, John,
Martin, John.
Abby.
We haven't
Oh,
got
Abby's
Graham.
Oh, there's two of them.
Roger.
No, good. There's Alfie. Alfie's arrived.
Alfie. Hi, morning, Alfie.
Morning.
So just so you know, this is being recorded at the moment. I will try and tell people that later on as well. Oh, and Hank, come on, I'm going to turn on. I'm going to turn on subtitles now. Jane has appeared, although she seems to have got a lot shorter recently. Ah, that's better.
Are those auto captions or is somebody typing? Oh,
They're auto captions.
okay. We all have to enunciate correctly.
Okay. Still waiting for Maria.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Who else should be here? What time is it? Is it 10 o'clock?
Only
Yeah.
just 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Shall I have the camera on you for the moment until you start? For Jane.
Oh,
So has anyone watched The Big Bang Theory and Fun with Flags? I think this has certain elements of that about it in sometimes.
The Big Bang Theory.
Ah, Leo's here.
I am on mute. I thought. Good morning.
Is that Maria there?
Oh, I can't hear anything.
Maria's also shrunk.
And got a new name.
Oh, and she's called Toby.
hi, Toby.
I think she's a.
Yeah, I just can't hear anything.
Did you click on the button that says use computer audio?
No noise. There's no noise.
Jack, you haven't got your microphone switched off. Your speakers. F5 on a laptop. Oh, here we go. The guru.
Well, I have to say this this bodes really well for the AGM being held by Zoom.
Stop the count.
Oh, it didn't come. You didn't enunciate. Stop the count. It said stop the cow.
Okay.
Jane, do you want to see Vanessa's face? Yes.
Thanks, Jane.
Don't you think we should have a vote on that?
Stop the count.
Oh, a boat or a vote?
A vote. No, actually, I was going to say that Jane had asked if we did keep our cameras on us, if at all possible, particularly when we're talking.
But I have the whiteboard.
You have the whiteboard, yes. No,
But last week, didn't we?
it is, and as we're again, I will again say that we are recording this, and this is so that Jane can go through the recording again afterwards. And it is possible we might put it on YouTube, but on a private group on YouTube. Is that right, Vanessa?
That's the plan. Yes, it's for Jane and it's for anyone who's missed it. So.
Well, I can send Jane the recording anyway, but we will put it onto YouTube. So if you do not want your face to appear on YouTube, you must tell us and we'll pixelate you out.
Or just switch your video off.
No, we don't want people to switch video.
Well, if you in extremist switch the video off, but then Jane won't be able to. We'll have more difficulty in understanding what you're saying. I suppose she probably wants me to go and shave my beard off too.
We all want you to do that.
Yeah, well, you're unlucky.
So I have to work out how I can get YouTube on the boat so that everything I'm being told today I can watch again while I'm actually on the water.
Yeah.
Virtual glasses is the answer, I think.
Okay, shall we start?
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about the upwind leg, sailing the first part of the course after the start. And when we're doing this at Hunts, we're going from the start line, and the first flag is always going to be a red flag, which makes life really easy.
Right, I am trying to make Nikki a co-host, but for some reason I don't seem to be able to do that.
Do you know?
Oh yeah, I've got it. Sorry, there you are. So I think that means you will be able to share your screen now, Nikki.
Well, we're just doing the whiteboard at the moment.
Okay.
But later we will be sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first leg of the course from the start is always an upwind leg. So down here will be one end of the start line, down here will be another. And what we want to work out is the best way. We're going to come back to how to start a bit later. What we want to work out is how the best way, most efficient way, and therefore fastest way to get from this line to this mark. I think if you remember last week, we talked about there being two aspects to the race. One was tactics. There's no any point in me writing that.
Yeah.
And the other one,
Bit bigger, maybe. Oh,
Yes.
it's got full screen.
strategy. So tactics are what happen when we mix it with other boats. Strategy It's the route we would take around the racecourse using the wind to sail most efficiently. So how we would use the wind is our strategy. And in most cases, we'll be wanting to work out this strategy before the start. However, you will notice if you watch a race at Hunts that hardly anybody does that, especially the chap in the top left-hand corner. Working out your strategy in advance means getting out early, looking at the wind shift, seeing what's happening and which is going to be the best way to go up here. The reason why we don't see much of that at Hunts is because most people that sail there are very familiar with what the wind does on the lake. It follows set patterns according to where the wind direction is. And typically, most people that have been sailing there for a long time will know which way, which side of this upwind leg they might want to go because they've done it before and they know what's paid in the past. And as you sail in a place more and more and more, you get to know that too. Local knowledge, it's a great thing. When you go somewhere new, this takes on a whole new importance, being out on the piece of water that you've never sailed on before and getting used to it. However, we are focusing for now on sailing at Hunts. So our strategy for the purpose of this session is going to be limited to what we experience as we're sailing towards the red flag. I'm going to start with the easy one first, and that is tactics. And I'm not going to do anything hugely complicated. It is a massive subject in its own. I'm just going to talk about dirty wind. Okay, so if we've got red boat sailing upwind, and we've got yellow boat sailing upwind just behind and to leeward of them, what's going to be happening there? Does anybody know what effect red boat is going to have on yellow boat? Somebody, yeah, somebody, Alfie, you've got your hands up.
There'll be dirty wind coming off the red boat because it's like nearer to the wind, so the leeward boat will be getting the wind off the red boat stuff. So
this boat will be causing a lot of turbulence, disturbing the airflow, and that dirty wind will be going down onto yellow and slowing it down. And even if yellow is here, you can see that there's still quite a lot of turbulence. As yellow moves further forwards, even here, still got the turbulence, but once yellow, if yellow is there, it's not really being affected because the wind is actually going back this way rather than down onto yellow. So there is minimal turbulence if the boats are level, but if yellow is behind and to leeward, it's going to be slowed down by this dirty wind. So what should yellow do in these circumstances?
You spent the entire night, didn't you?
I think he did.
You've been out, by the way.
Somebody's having an interesting domestic conversation. I don't know who it is.
You should tack?
You should tack, yes.
Why do I?
Typically, Abby's right. In this circumstance, you should tack and get out of that dirty wind and start going the other way, sailing faster. A couple of exceptions. If you're here in your British Moth, Abby, and we've got somebody super fast over here, they've gone, what should you do? What would you do?
Hold my course.
you could hold your course, couldn't you? Because they're only going to affect you for a minimal amount of time. It might well be that they're going, if this is something really fast, it might well be that they're here and gone in no time at all. Okay.
That's an interesting one, though, because if I'm in a British Moth, most of the fleet is faster than me. And if I hang on, that's, you know, I let the whole fleet go by, basically.
Yeah, and sometimes that's actually what you have to do. A while ago, I changed my entry in one of the big races from a fast boat to a slow boat, but they kept me in my slow boat in the fast fleet. It was a totally miserable experience, and the whole fleet did go past me. I was in my OK. They were all in their 49ers, 29ers, and so on. But actually, there was no point in tacking to avoid them because I'd be avoiding a whole mass of boats. So actually, I was better off sailing to the part of the course that I wanted to sail to and sticking with it than tacking off and trying to avoid all of them. The other concept, which is a bit harder to come to terms with, is that this is most detrimental. This will slow you down the most when the wind is lightest. Okay. As it starts to get windier, this doesn't have so much effect. And therefore you can actually hold your course. Unless you're sailing very slowly and you drop out the back, you can actually hold your course and just live with the tiny amount of dirty wind that you are getting rather than lose time by tacking out. It's worth bearing in mind that for most boats, unless we tack extremely well, we lose time when we tack. And Jane, that's especially true in a Challenger. A Challenger, it takes forever to go from one tack to another. So only tack if you really need to. Okay. Now the other thing about dirty wind that you need to think about is we've got this. If we're here to windward and slightly behind, we are in dirty wind and we might want to tack away from that. If we want to deliberately slow someone down, I'm talking Ben Ainsley tactics here. If you're red and you want to slow yellow down, that's a great place to be, but we don't see much of that at hunts. So the next thing to think about is the effect of this. So if you are 2, what effect are you going to be having on the yellow boat? Let's imagine that, I've got them the wrong way around, but never mind. Let's imagine that 2, red, is coming across like this and tacks there. What's going to happen to yellow? Okay, the answer is the same thing. Because red is ahead, it's going to stream back some dirty wind to yellow. So again, yellow might want to think about tacking away. And that's quite a recognised tactic. I think it's called lee bowing, where you come across, tack, and shed lots of dirty wind on your opponent. So it's worth, from the beginner point of view, forget about that as a tactic. Think about it as that boat's casting a lot of dirty wind on me. I need to get out. Okay. But again, you need to be fairly close. Okay. So that's all I'm really going to say about dirty wind. There's 2 positions where you can suffer from it. One is here and the other is down there. Okay.
Do the first one again. I didn't have the camera.
The first one is here Yeah, and the second one is down here. That's dirty wind, and that's often a good reason to tack, especially in class racing where boats should be going roughly the same speed. Okay, so that's really all. I'm just going to recap to last week. If you remember, we said don't follow the boat in front, don't copy the boat in front. If yellow decides, oh, red is an expert, I'm going to copy him, he's actually going to get slower and slower and slower because he's sailing in red's dirty wind. So don't follow the boat in front. Okay, so we have done. Has anybody got any questions about dirty wind? Everybody's looking stupefied. Oh, who's that? Leif, Toby, Maria?
You're on mute.
Would it be better, let's say in a race, if everyone's on the starboard line, would it be better to go on the port side so then you could get the clean wind? Would that be worth it?
Yes, sometimes the answer to that is yes. So what you're talking about is a phenomenon that most of us aspire to, but very few achieve. And that's called a port flyer. So here's our start line. I hope you can see that. Most boats will be starting on starboard like that. And as they start to go upwind, the faster boats will pull ahead like that and start to be in dirty wind. So what you can do if you are a confident and accomplished sailor is start on port, but you have to be. So this boat down here, if they can pull it off, as these boats start to come up, this boat that started on port, if he's sailing really nice and fast, might be able to get to the mark ahead. Lots of risk associated with this, because if he's coming up here like this and he's got it wrong, what's he going to have to do?
You tack out the way.
He's going to have to tack out the way, in which case he's going to lose speed and be back here somewhere. So any advantage he had has gone. Or you will see people do this in moments of desperation where they'll start ducking boats, and they'll keep ducking and they'll keep ducking until they see an opportunity to go that way. So you can see by now, blue is not in a good place at all. So if you're going to try for this, do it really well.
And presumably, does that work better if you're in a handicap fleet and you're one of the faster boats in the handicap fleet?
If you're in a 49er on a fleet of optimists, let's do it.
But not the other way round.
But not the other way round. No.
Vanessa,
yes,
I quickly come in. A lot depends how the race officer has set the line as to whether you'll get away with a port flyer.
Yeah. Let's assume that the line is perfect, John, like you always lay them.
I have a question about dirty wind.
Abby.
You had two boats match racing up that first leg. What happens when you get 17, 18 boats trying to go to the first mark, which we all try and do? How much turbulence is there in the general flow of wind? I understand two boats next to each other, but what happens to the wind flowing off of 17 different sails?
Okay, so that's quite an interesting question. What you'll see is all the boats will be lined up going the same way. For some reason, I've got them on port. I'm going to tack them all onto starboard. So you'll see a whole fleet of boats going upwind like this, and they will be trying to do a thing called holding their lane or holding their channel. This is the boat's channel. And this is where your ability to stay close to the wind or to point is really critical. So in theory, because these boats are level, there isn't much dirty wind. So these boats aren't really blue and red are not really suffering that much from yellow. What makes it a race is that, of course, these boats aren't always sailing the same speed. So one of them eventually will be fastest and pop out. And that's when we start to see dirty wind happening. Is that sort of what you're asking, Abby?
Vaguely, but what's happening to the 11 other boats that are behind them?
They will. So these boats, there'll be boats scattered all the way up the beach, won't there? Something just fell over behind me. I've no idea what. So yes, these are the boats. You're sort of illustrating my point for later perfectly. These are the boats, because they haven't made the best start, they are the ones having to sort themselves out. They are the ones that are suffering the turbulence. So they are, in fact, having to tack off. This is why it's so important to have good boat speed, and it's so important to get a good start, because then you're one of these boats and you can do what you like. If you've got poor speed or you've got a poor start, you become one of these boats and you're dictated to by everybody else in the fleet.
How far does dirty wind reach?
It depends on the size of the boat, how well the boat's sailing. If this boat, one of these boats, decided to let its jib flap, that dirty air would last a long way back. There is a concept whereby, and I'm not sure if this is right at all, I've always found it a bit dubious, that this boat here that's coming away on port might get a lift off those boats ahead on starboard, but I'm not convinced of that. I'd have to. It's never worked for me, that's for sure. So
I don't think it's ever worked for me either.
No, I find that idea a bit odd, because effectively they're sailing in a lot of mixed up wind. If you've got an Apple device and you look for an app called Wind Tunnel, you can draw in the boats as the wind comes down, and it will show you the swirls and swirls of wind that are coming off these boats. And it's very hard to interpret those boats as a lift, those swirls as a lift. It's more likely that this boat is just making a desperate bid to get somewhere where he's not in dirty wind. So I'm never convinced by that. Any more questions on dirty wind or avoiding other boats going upwind? Yep. Is that Toby again? Leif.
If you go if you went port side, you have to do left tack.
Can't hear you, Leif.
Leif, somebody's covering the microphone as you're talking or something. Just try again.
Okay.
Or just right at it.
Maria?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, just a bit louder.
So if you go port side, you'll get less.
Can't hear you.
He's still asking, if you do a port flyer, doesn't that still work better because you'd have to tack less?
No, because you'll go more slowly. If you've done a successful port flyer, hardly ever happens, then yes, in theory, if you've decided that that's the part of the course that you want to be on and you've done it successfully, yes. But there's so many variables around pulling off that port flyer that it's a risk, shall we say. And sailing is all about minimizing risks. Decision making. That doesn't help you at all, does it, Leif? Because I haven't really said yes or no. I'm saying maybe. There's a lot of maybes.
He's less keen on the tactic now.
Yeah, it's very rarely worth it. But I have seen somewhere on Facebook, there's a fantastic video of a 29er start, and it's at Grapham, and the start line must be 400 meters long. Most of the fleet is up here on starboard, and then down here, right by the beach, there's a boat on port, and they've got all the time in the world to do what they want because all the fleet is up here, so they get a fantastic port flyer. If I can find it, I'll share it. Okay, right now I'm going to move on from that. I want you to hold on to the thought that getting a good start is really important so that you become one of these boats and not one of the boats behind. And now I am going to talk about strategy. So in terms of strategy, we're thinking about which way am I going to go from here to here. Okay, the options are multiple, aren't they? Let's get the wind straight. So what do we know? Ooh, that's a slightly saggy start line. What do we know about how to sail from here to here? What point of sail is that? It's a really simple question. We are close hauled, aren't we? Yeah. So we've got our sail right in. We are looking, as we're going upwind, we're looking to sail on the edge of the no-go zone, aren't we? So that we're sailing this course like that. And in a perfect world, perhaps we would even sail that course. We'd sail on the edge of the no-go zone because that's the most efficient, it's closest to the wind. One tack, end up at the mark, one tack, and round we go, no stress. Okay, how do we make sure that we're on the edge of the no-go zone? Leif.
Is it if you go any further, your sail starts flapping in your telltales?
Yeah, we've got our telltales streaming but together. So telltales are streaming like that alongside either side of the sail. That bit's the sail. And we've got our sail right in. We're sailing our most efficient course. Nice and easy. We could sail this one. We could sail that one. We could sail whatever we wanted to. So how do we decide when to do this? How do we decide when we're going to tack? Okay, so partly it might be because we're in dirty wind, or we've got somebody on the other tack. We might be on port and somebody's on starboard and we've got to tack for them. So it might be rules, and it might be to get clear air and to go faster. But strategy, remember, there's nobody else there. So how do we know when we want to tack? Part of it is determined by how quickly we can tack. And if we're Jane in a Challenger, we don't want to tack very often because it's a really slow boat to tack. But if we're somebody in a nippy D0 or something like that, we can tack fairly often and not lose too much speed. And this, by the way, is why even top level Team GB sailors will go out and practice tacking and tacking and tacking, because being able to tack efficiently is absolutely crucial to how quickly we can get up here. So everybody practices tacking all the time because it's so important. You don't think, oh, I'm a top level sailor, my tacking's great. You keep practicing. How do we decide when to tack? Partly we might think, oh, I'm hiking really hard here, my legs hurt, I need to swap legs. Let's tack. And I think we've all been a bit guilty of that one. I certainly have. But the key thing here is to bear in mind that this wind up here, we set our, because we're a good race officer like John, we've set our wind would mark perfectly where the wind is coming from. Okay. The trouble is, it doesn't stay like that, does it? it moves. So it might move over to here, start coming from there, and it might move over to here and start coming from there. And at Hunts, we don't have the capacity to jump in and move that mark. So the boats down here are going to have to alter their course according to what the wind does. Now I'm just going to do a quick aside here. Do you know what it is that causes the wind to change direction like that?
At Hunts, it's often the trees.
Yeah.
Or a building, or...
Yeah. So let's think about Hunts, and let's think about the view from the race box looking out to the right. Over here, we've got the guided busway, haven't we? And the road alongside it. Up here, we've got, this is a bit of an artistic license coming in here, but we've got a massive factory. Yeah. Down here, there's the shoreline. We've got a whole load of big trees. And over here, we've got the lake coming round like that. Down that way is the lagoon, and here is the race box. And then over here, we've got even more trees. So let's think that today, the wind is coming from over here, which I believe to be down here somewhere, is the west, okay? And I believe that that is our prevailing wind direction, which is why our race box for our starting is here, okay? Because it means we can set a start line and be putting our red flag here somewhere. And that makes a good start line without us having to launch the committee boat. So in theory, the wind is coming from down here. What's going to happen to it as it gets towards our start line and this part of the lake? So there's the red flag, there might be the blue flag. We've got to get to here.
It's going to have to go through the trees just there.
It's going to have to go through the trees, definitely. Now, remember, the wind's not just coming from there. It's all coming in this same westerly direction, okay? Sorry about this, Tom. So it's all coming that way. It's not just coming from there in one channel. It's coming across the lake like that. Now, as it hits the trees, as Leif said, what's it going to do? There's a lot of trees down here in this corner.
Go over and then dip down.
Yeah, it might go over. Typically, it'll go round with the trees. Okay, so it'll go like that. So suddenly, that wind's not coming that way, it's coming that way. Or it might come round and go like that. Yeah. I'm just going to move this factory for the purpose of illustration. The factory is now there. Was it Claire that said it would go over and come down?
Yes.
Claire. Yeah. So yeah, Claire, you're typically right. With a big building like that, and certainly in some of the big bowl-like reservoirs, the wind does go over and come down. And when it hits the lake, it fans out like that. So we've got wind going all over the place, which is horrendous. And at the same time, here we've got a nice gap, and the wind should be coming through there fairly evenly. So now you can see from the state of my messy board, we've got wind coming in all kinds of direction, haven't we? We've got some coming that way, some coming that way, some coming in a straight line, and some here going all over the place. And then last but not least, just to add to the fun, what we've got here, what the bank will cause, is it'll bend the wind, okay? So the wind will come round like that and like that and like that. So suddenly the nice straightforward upwind leg is looking anything but, isn't it? the wind is shifting direction from here to here to there and all sorts. So going back to the original question about when do we tack, what we've got to try and do as we're going upwind is make the most of all these shifts, all these changes in direction. We want to use them to get them towards the red flag. So let's just tidy that up. Okay. So just for simplicity's sake, here is, sorry, my red flags are the bottom of my bag. Here is our red flag. That's where we want to go. Okay. There is the wind direction. And this nifty thing, what does that represent? Okay, so this V shape, the two legs off it.
The no-go zone.
The no-go zone. Very good. Nikki made this for me earlier and I love it already.
Here's one I prepared.
Here's one I prepared earlier. This is my no-go zone. So,
hand up.
Who's got a hand up? Amelia? No, I think she's just
stretching.
She's just stretching. So we've got two boats, both sailing a nice efficient course up the edge of that no-go zone towards that mark. Okay, let's move them down a bit. Okay, they're still edge of the no-go zone. Okay. But what happens is the wind moves. Okay, so the wind might hit a tree or the factory or something like that, and it moves over there. So what does that mean for this no-go zone, with the edge of the no-go zone? Alfie? Unmute yourself, Alfie.
The no-go zone shifts.
The no-go zone shifts, doesn't it? The wind has shifted, so the no-go zone has shifted. Notice the mark has not moved, it's anchored, it stays there. So here's 2. It was on the edge of the no-go zone. What's happened to 2 now? I'm just going to exaggerate that bit. Is 2 still sailing on the edge of the no-go zone?
No, so it's going to have to head up.
How do you know what's going to happen in 2, sorry, red? What's going to happen in red to tell it that it's not sailing on the edge of the no-go zone? Where is it in relation to this? I'm just going to move it up so you can see a bit more clearly.
The sail's going to flap.
The sail's going to flap because suddenly red is sailing inside the no-go zone. So the sail's going to flap because it's too close to the wind, isn't it? And in terms of the telltales, the telltale on this side is going to start flying like that. To make that settle down again, to get back to being on the edge of the no-go zone, we need to bear away. Okay. Okay, so we've turned and we're back on the edge of the no-go zone. But now we've got a new problem. Who can tell me what it is? Alfie.
You're heading away from the mark.
Yeah, we're heading away from the mark, which is not what we wanted. And we have, in fact, we call that being headed because we've been turned, the wind has shifted, we've been turned away from the mark. So what are we going to do? Anybody else other than Alfie? Okay, what we need to do there, Alfie, is what?
Tackle jibe.
Well, we don't want to jibe, do we? Because we'll end up going down there.
Oh, yeah. So
well, what we do want to do, to be sailing back towards the mark, is tack. And suddenly, we're looking a lot better because the opposite of being headed away is being lifted towards. And because we tacked on that, we're sailing a fantastic course again. Okay, I'm going to do that again. So let's go back to where we were. There's the wind. Okay, both boats are sailing nicely checking with their tiller that they're sailing up the edge of the no-go zone. And this time, the wind is going to move to here.
Hang on, sorry, hang on. Cool.
Okay, and the no-go zone has moved to there. So what's it looking like for 2? What will 2 find? Red. What will red find in their boat that they need to do?
They can head up.
Yeah, they can head up, can't they? How will they know that though? What will the sign be in the boat that they can head up? Alfie?
The boat will start tipping a bit more and you'll have to hike more.
It's not so much that, no, it's more that on this side of the boat, the telltale will fly like that. So what they need to do is steer towards that telltale and they'll steer back like that. That's what's happened here. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Okay, that's a good thing, isn't it? Because what's happened is this boat, red, has been lifted, it's been turned towards where it wants to go. But this boat, what's happened over here? Suddenly the bow is in the no-go zone. To straighten it out, to straighten out that telltale, so this telltale will be flapping, we need to pull towards us, and suddenly what's happening there? Is that good or bad? Jane?
Yeah, she put her thumbs down.
Oh, okay. What's happening?
Bad.
That's bad, yes, because that boat is being turned away from the wind. Does anybody remember what we called that?
Headed.
Headed. It's been headed, hasn't it? What does it need to do?
Tack.
Tack. It needs to turn and be like red and be aiming back towards the mark. Okay. There will be questions later. So you can see the issue we have as sailors, the challenge for us as sailors, is what happens is predicting or reacting to these shifts in the wind when the no-go zone changes. So that's why it's so important that we're watching our telltales or the luff of our sail, and we're always making sure that we are sailing on the wind. So if we're not on the wind in the first place, we're not going to know when we get shifted. I just thought of something and it's gone out of my brain completely. Jane?
What happened, my problem is I don't know if it's a short change in the wind or a long one, because in a challenger, obviously, it needs to be a good shift in order to take advantage of it.
Okay, so that's a really good, and just to add to the fun, there's other sorts of shift as well that we might not want to tack on, but we'll ignore that. If you're sailing a challenger, the chances are you're sailing on a big piece of water, okay? And although there will be shifts, they will be bigger shifts than they will be somewhere like Hunts, okay? And very often, so if you're sailing at Grafham or Rutland or Oxford or somewhere, you'll have a thing called an oscillating shift, which means it'll shift that way. And then say 5 minutes later, it'll shift that way. And 5 minutes later, it'll shift that way. So it's doing a pattern, it's doing this. And if you remember, we talked about strategy in places where you're not familiar. What you want to do is go out in advance and look for that shift pattern. At Hunts, the shifts tend to be fairly random. It's the bends that are more consistent, okay? But in big pieces of water, we're looking for an oscillating shift pattern. Or just to make it even more complicated, one thing that you want to do, of course you will have done before you go sailing, is look at your weather forecast. And if your weather forecast shows you something like, this is going to be a challenge, this, so the wind essentially is coming from the north, and then it's coming from here, which is going to be, tell me if I'm wrong, somebody, northeast, yeah. And then later on, it might say that the wind direction is coming from northeast. And then lastly, it might say that the wind direction is coming from east. Okay, so what that means is we've got a wind that's doing this, and then this, and then this, and then this. So that's a persistent shift where the wind direction, the predicted wind, the gradient wind, is that right, Tom?
Yeah, I suppose you could call it the gradient wind.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm going to call it the gradient wind. It's shifting through the day as the wind changes direction. Okay, so that's a persistent shift that tends to follow the weather patterns. I know Tom will hate me saying all this. Most often we're going to get an oscillating shift. Okay, so in your Challenger, you want to be, because you're sailing on bigger pieces of water, you will notice this bigger shift pattern. Okay, you will have noticed that somebody like Val and Graham and so on have got compasses on their boats, and those can be really useful for checking the wind direction before the start and then also using it during the race, but they are 200 odd quid, so we don't need things like that. We just need to be having our ears, eyes, sensors open and predicting, not predicting, but sensing when we get those little shifts.
Can I quickly come in with Jane there, please, Vanessa?
You may indeed, John.
Yeah, sailability at Peterborough, Jane. If you notice when we are racing, I will go out and look at the first beat in the Challenger. It may pay you to do the same.
Definitely, definitely. But that's got to be a first for you, John, to go out early.
I do it quite regularly at Peterborough, sailability in the Challenger.
Good. And the other thing.
Sorry, can I say something? You're probably just about to say this anyway.
Yeah.
If you don't have a compass, of course, the thing to do is to note something on the bank that you're sailing towards. And in a small lake like Hunts, you can do that, and then you can tell. I mean, it is quite difficult to notice if the wind has shifted, but if you look where you're sailing to, it's very easy to spot when the wind shifts.
So a good example of that at Hunts might be, Jane?
Sorry, when you said about looking at something on the bank, I did try that to see if there was a wind shift, but then I realised, what if it's leeway?
It shouldn't be leeway. If you've got your centreboard in the right place, you shouldn't have enough sideways movement to make that noticeable. So yeah. So what Tom means by that is if we were the red boat sailing upwind and we're pointing straight at the factory like this, we're pointing straight at the factory, and then we notice that actually we haven't done anything except react to what our telltales are doing, and we're not pointing anymore at the factory, we're pointing at the tree. What's happened there? Okay, so what's happened there is that we've been shifted, we've been headed. So that's just a way of noticing that the wind has shifted. If we don't spot it in our sails, we can spot it in landmarks. Okay, so there we are sailing along happily doing this. Oh, I've moved. A time when that is useful particularly is when you come round the mark at the bottom of the course down here. So this would be pink or something like that. The previous time you came round, you were pointing at the factory. Fantastic. This time when you come round, you're pointing at the tree. What are you going to do? So first lap, factory, fantastic. Second lap, tree. What that means is on this time, as we round the mark, we're on a header. So straight away, we want to tack and get back onto that lift. Okay, are we all happy? Amelia's nodding, or is that Martha? Somebody's nodding. Somebody cuddling a dog. Is
Martha. That's Martha.
Good morning, Martha.
Good morning.
Right, okay. So are we happy with spotting wind shifts? Essentially, the wind shift happens because the no-go zone moves. I've lost my no-go zone. And therefore we need to react to that. What that'll mean is that our course going upwind could be quite haphazard. Whoops, definitely not that one. Could be quite haphazard, but because we've reacted to those shifts, we've always sailed the most efficient course. The problem is other boats come along and stop us sailing that, and that's when we start to employ the tactics. Okay, 2-minute break, and then we're going to go on to starting. So if you need a cup of tea, coffee, loo, whatever,
yeah,
run now. Okay.
Sorry, before people go, I will remind people that we're actually recording this, and it might be put onto a private YouTube channel. So if you don't want your face to be shown, either don't turn your camera on or tell us and we'll pixelate you out.
It's stuck. Sally, I've just sent you a message on the chat.
Thank you.
Although you're very happy, I'm very happy to just tap to you without seeing you.
Okay, so I could be pixelated out, Tom just said.
Well, I would do that separately by going through the whole video, sticking a pixelated.
Oh, well, that's more work for you. I just feel slightly as though it's rude to be blacked out during a conversation with other people. But
what you need to do is find a picture of like a cartoon character and have that as a background, and then just don't have you looking at it as well.
Or a guinea pig.
Or a guinea pig, yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Because then you can change your virtual background and just make sure you're not in front of it.
Ah.
And then at least there's a picture there.
Okay. How difficult is it to change my background?
If you go to where it says stop video, there's a little arrow next to it, and you can choose virtual background.
Where it says start video?
Yeah, next to it, there's a little arrow, and it brings up a menu, and you can make it say choose a virtual background. Or like Tom, you can put disguise on.
Yes, I was just going to say. That's on the same little arrow. It's hang on, it's the choose video filter.
Oh.
Oh,
I'm not suggesting you really do that. I just think it's rather fun.
Yeah.
Choose video filter.
Mine just comes up with none.
Okay.
And then there's a little list below and it will show you what they look like.
Oh, it says none.
Okay, but if you go next to it, that says virtual backgrounds.
Yes.
You can pick a background, or you can actually upload a background by adding the little plus sign on the top right of that little box, where it says virtual backgrounds, video filters, and then a plus sign.
But that's not going to stop my face being there, is it?
Well, it is if you don't actually look at the screen. So you're offset, your face is offset.
Oh, I see. Okay, I'll
see. Look, I can have Leonard the Lion.
Hang on, I've got to take this off.
And because I am offset and you can't see me, if I put my hand, you can see my hand, but if I'm not, you just don't see me, you just see the picture.
Okay, so the lion is from a photo that you've got?
Yeah, I just uploaded the photo.
I have to upload the photo.
Yeah, or you can choose one of these ones like the Northern Lights or something like that. There.
Oh.
Or there's a seashore.
So where did you get those from?
Are they not showing? You have none, and you have the San Francisco Bridge, and you have a few others already there.
Let me go again. Choosing virtual background. Yep. This is.
Are we ready?
Okay, so at the moment it says none.
Yep, but there's other pictures next to it.
No.
Oh, you don't have any. Do you have a little plus sign at the top where you can add your own?
Yeah.
So you can add your own, but obviously they haven't got any default ones. We can do it another time.
Okay. So I'd have to get.
You could have your camera, your video on, and just not have your face in front of it, like just a blank wall.
Okay.
Anyway, I am being told we need to get going again.
Okay,
I just need to change the virtual background to nothing. Oh, here we are. So yeah, Sally, you can just have your camera pointing, not at you.
Everybody back?
No, I don't think Maria and Sonia. If you're back and ready, do you want to stick your thumbs up using the reactions button at the bottom of your screen? Then we'll know you're ready. Oh, John Coppell's upside down.
He's migrated to Australia.
Gone to Australia, where there's proper skiff sailing. Right, they've got quite a few thumbs up. Thumbs up if you're ready to go. If you can't work out how to do an online thumbs up, just put your thumb up. Yeah, Abby's ready, John's ready. Alfie is ready for takeoff. Sangsters are ready. Sally's ready. Martin, I think, was ready. Yeah, I think they were here. Oh, Sonia. Just waiting for Sonia. There's probably a queue for their bathroom. Is it whiteboard again?
It's whiteboard for a little while.
Okay.
So hopefully at the end we'll have time for the quiz. You'll need to go to kahoot.it for that.
I don't know how you and Nikki are doing this, Vanessa, but the work that goes into it and the coordination between the two of you is, well, for me, it's mind-boggling, and thank you very much.
Yeah.
We agree with Abby.
For me, it's mind-boggling too. Okay, right, I think we're good to go. So what we're doing now is, well, we saw in the last section, didn't we, how important it is to get a good start, because if you don't get a good start, you are going to be in a lot of dirty wind, and everybody else is effectively determining where you go. Very often we don't get a good start, and a lot of sailing books that teach you how to start tell you what to do and imagine that you've got a perfect start. I'm not going to do that because I'm realistic, and I think that quite often we don't get a good start, and it's just because we're nervous about being on the line, we're nervous about being shouted at, we're nervous about knowing what to do. So I'm just going to give you some tips that I hope will help you to get a reasonable start, and then as we progress more and you get practice and so on, you work towards getting a good start, and then eventually a brilliant start, and maybe even a port flyer for Toby. Leif. Okay, so the first question is, how do we start? And the answer is we do a countdown, and at Hunts we go in 3-minute intervals. We're going to go over the technicalities of how to start in a moment. The next thing is, where is the start line? It's not like a running track where there's a line marked on the ground and we all line up behind that, because obviously it's water, so we can't mark a line on it. What we have to do is imagine that there's a line. One end of the line is this mast, which at Hunts is typically either on the race box, or sometimes, if the wind is not in the right direction, we'll use a committee boat. So the main thing is to look for this mast. Look on the course board, it'll show you either a committee boat start or a race box start with a mast with a flag on it. And it's this main pole of the mast that is one end of the line. The other end of the line, out in the lake somewhere, will be a white buoy. Okay. And in theory, this line, woo, see, I didn't go to art school, will be bisected by the wind. So we've got 90 degrees either side. So it should be square to the wind like that. If you're an expert line layer like Tom or John, that is how it will be. Don't rely on that because it isn't always.
He
Indeed. So the first question is, how do I know where that line is? Well, if you can, get out there early and put your boat where you think that line is. Look backwards and you should see the white buoy. Look forwards and you'll see the mast on the bank. Okay. Also, what's good to do? Behind you, so come along the line on starboard. Behind you is the mast of the committee boat. Over here is the white buoy. And if we're really lucky, lined up somewhere on the bank is a nice distinctive tree. Okay. When you see those two lined up, you're on the line. A transit. We take a transit. The idea between taking this transit is that when we're coming up to the line and we get to about here and we look along, we should be able to see, to use that transit to see whether or not we're on the line. So if we're here,
I think Vanessa's frozen.
Vanessa, you're frozen.
She probably can't hear then.
No. Yeah, talking about the transit, you will see occasionally, if it's a shore-based start, that the racers will go to the shore end, look along and see what is on the transit along that line to the outer distance. A number of the good sailors will do that before they even go on the water.
Is Vanessa back yet?
No. So you're saying, John, you'll go stand by the flag on the committee, by the start
not
hut.
the committee boat, the shore-based start line,
Yeah.
go and look along to the outer distance and pick the tree on the far shore to see where the transit is.
Right.
Before I even go on the water, and other sailors do the same.
It's assuming that the start line has been set.
Yes. And 9 times out of 10 it has. There are the odd occasions where the race officer may move the start line after boats have got onto the water.
But
then you have to look at your transit from the water.
I mean, in theory, he can move the transit up to the
Up to the 3-minute gun.
Yeah. So you have to watch that.
Yeah.
And the other buoy you might see that Vanessa hasn't mentioned is an inner distance, which would be one at the flagpole end of the line. That doesn't indicate the line, though.
No, it doesn't necessarily. The inner distance does not necessarily have to be on the line.
So you have to be a bit aware of that. Normally, you try to lay it behind the line so people don't. If they do get confused, they are not over the line. We should have a whiteboard to go and do.
No, I haven't got a whiteboard here, Tom, so.
I have got one upstairs. However, I do have, if Vanessa doesn't come, I do think I have a copy of her PowerPoint presentation on the starting signals. So we could show that.
Yeah.
Although I believe there is a deliberate error in it. Hang on, I'll go and find it, and then I will show it to you. While I'm looking for it, almost certainly Vanessa will come back, so that'd be good.
Are those the flags, you mean, that are used in the start sequence?
Yeah, no, she's made a PowerPoint for that.
Ah.
And she sent it to me last night.
She's back.
Oh, is she? Oh, that's fine. Excellent. I told you that.
We live in the wilderness of Willingham, so I'm just going to try and get Nikki to hold my phone while we try and sort out the Wi-Fi. So
Vanessa, I was just about to get your PowerPoint up.
Okay, well, I'll just finish this and then we'll go to, if you can get the PowerPoint up ready, Tom, that would be fantastic.
I will try, yeah.
You haven't got the one without the mistake, though.
No, but people can spot the mistake if you've decided it is a mistake.
It is a mistake. Yeah.
I'm sending it to you again,
Okay.
Tom, in the off
you-
chance.
Can you go back to showing the screen?
What's happening here?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
This screen. Okay, so I can't see anybody or hear anybody, so I could well be talking to myself, but I'm hoping I'm not. So what we've done here is we've shown that you can have a transit and you can try and use it. It's a good idea to have a rough idea of where the line is. One thing that I try and do is if I'm got my watch on and it's set and ticking away, then I try and watch the other boats. And if I think they're on the line, I'll try and creep up to them. If I think they're over the line, I'll try not to creep up to them. So it's a good idea to take a transit, but I think realistically, you can't always use it. So if you're number 2, for example, you're not going to see the transit because of all the other boats in the way. So have one, try and use it, get a rough idea of where you think the line is. Okay, so everybody will tell you that the key part of getting a good start, let's just clear up the board, is being on the line. Am I back?
Give me one second.
Okay, sorry about that. Right, so yeah, everybody will tell you that a key part of getting a good start is being on the line when the gun goes, and that's absolutely right. So how do we do that? And the answer is what we do when we go out early is that we practice sailing from a set point and we time. So let's imagine we're here. Over here is the slipway that we've just come down. Okay, and we know that it takes 20 seconds to sail from level with that slipway up to the line. Okay, that's called a timed run. Okay, what we might then want to do, is it possible to get the, yes, sorry, what we then might want to do is do that on the other tack. Okay, does it take the same amount of time? No, it takes a little bit longer. And what we do before the start is we keep practicing our timed runs. How long does it take this time? Well, it took me 25 seconds. Okay, how long has it taken this time? It took 15 seconds. So it might alter if there's a gust or a lull, but you have a good idea of how long it takes you to sail from about here to on the line. Timed runs, they are absolutely crucial to being on the line at the start. So you're using your watch, your countdown on your watch, 20 seconds to go, off I go, da, 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 bang, on the line. If we think as we're coming up here, actually we've got a bit more wind this time, I'm going to be too early, what technique can we use to creep up to the line in a nice measured approach? What's the technique called? We practiced it at Wow, Jane.
Could let your sail out.
Jane, can you remember what this was? We let our sail out and then we might fill it up again, and then we might let our sail out and then we might fill it up again. So this is called spill and fill. So hopefully most of you have come across this before. It's the same approach that we might use when we're coming to shore. It's something that we might use when we're picking up a man overboard or coming alongside. And it's a really useful thing to practice, spilling and filling as you approach the line, so that you can make the most of that timed run and just alter it, make little micro alterations by altering your speed as you come up there. Okay, so the next question will be, so to think about getting a transit, definitely do your timed runs, and you should be able to do them before the start, before everybody else comes out and starts whizzing around and getting in the way. Now the next question is going to be, what are the rules at the start? Does anybody know the difference between the collision regulations and the racing regulations, the racing rules? Okay, so the collision regulations are rules that apply to people on the water all the time. And they apply to everybody from windsurfers, jet skiers, super tankers. Okay, the rest, when we're racing, we are governed by the racing rules of sailing. And up until a set point, we're following the collision regulations, and then at that set point the racing rules kick in and we start to be governed by them. Does anybody know what that set point is?
Single.
Okay. Sorry, say that again, Abby.
Preparatory signal. Or is it
Yeah,
the 1 minute?
it's the prep signal.
Yeah.
So the preparatory flag, when that goes up, we start to be governed by the racing rules of sailing. So before then, we just follow the collision regs, and they are mostly common sense. When the prep flag goes up, we need to follow the racing rules. So port and starboard, very straightforward. It applies because it's actually common against both sets of rules. Windward leeward applies because it's very common again, it's common again across both sets of rules. What people will try and do is they'll try and sail along here because they want to tack on, start on starboard, because that's when they have right of way. They'll try and do things like that. Okay, they'll try and tack right in front of you. Can they do that? Okay, it's exactly the same as anywhere else on the race course. Yes, they can do that, provided they don't cause you to have to alter course. Okay, provided they don't impinge on you, they can do that. Can they then sit there and shout at you to move out of the way because you're in between them and the wind? Does anybody know the answer to that one? This is a windward-leeward situation. Can two force one out of the way? Okay, the answer to that is yes, provided red gives yellow time to move. Okay, so you can't come along here, do a handbrake turn and say, "Oi, get out the way," because you didn't give yellow time to keep clear. Another common scenario, especially if we've got a committee boat, you try and find a committee boat. Here we are, is this one. So this time we've got a committee boat start here, and people will invariably think, oh, it's a committee boat, that's going to be nearest the wind, I'm going to start next to it. Okay, quite often it's not the case at all, but that's what they think. So two will be coming up here, ready to get up, doing a timed run, ready to get up, get onto close hold and start. One thinks, oh, I need to be in that space. Can they do that?
No.
They can't. Why is that? Okay, it's very simple. It's because there isn't room. Okay, if they want to try and barge in there, they can't. They can't hit the committee boat and they can't hit the boat down to leeward. If two is over here and one is here and wants to come round like that and isn't going to impinge on anyone, then yes, they can. Okay, so just be aware that boats are not allowed to barge in to gaps that don't exist at the start, and people will try. Okay, any more questions about the strategy for starting? So not about the flags and the signals, but how you might go about getting a good start, a decent start. Jane?
Can I ask, if you had 1 and 2 on the line, what I'm trying to say is people like Graham Hall often sit just before the line with their sail flapping. So if someone came up in another challenger, can they force him out of the way?
So let's imagine that Graham is yellow, yeah, and he's sitting here, and what he's doing is he's lying to with his sail out like that, flapping, yeah, so he's holding position quite nicely. When he wants to go, he's got to pull his sail in and go. What you're asking is, can somebody come along in red, yeah, like this, and push him up? Does anybody know the answer to that? So you want to know if they can do that? Yeah, Alfie?
You're not allowed to push someone over the line, are you? So
it goes back to what I was saying before. So here's Graham sitting on the line waiting to go. If number 2 comes up and goes, boom, oi Graham, get out of the way, I want to start. No, they can't do that. Because they haven't given Graham time to react, okay? What they can do is come round to here and start hardening up, in which case, because Graham is now windward boat, he has to move, okay? And he will probably. Sorry?
Where can he go then?
where can he go?
Yeah,
Well, he might have to start early.
Oh, not good.
I didn't hear any of that. Who's that with their hand up? Claire.
Me. What if in the position you've got yellow and red at the moment, if they're both stopped on the starting line, so they've got their sail flapping, when they're going to start and they tighten their sail, yellow is going to catch the wind and is likely to lean onto red and kind of push him as the wind takes the boat.
Yeah.
So how much space do you need to leave on the line to make sure that doesn't happen, or are there rules for that?
There are rules for that, and the rule we've got at the moment here is windward leeward. Okay, so yellow is to windward of red and therefore has to keep clear. What should happen if boats are same class, same speed, they should both be able to sheet in and start going on their close hauled course, because remember what they'll also be doing when they sheet in from this position lying across the wind, they will steer up a bit like that. So they should be able to do this. The difficulty comes if you're red and you don't sail as close to the wind. Sorry, the difficulty comes if you're yellow and you can't sail as close to the wind as red. Then you've got a problem, because you're going to end up going down and possibly hitting red. So what you're going to have to do is tack away. Okay, or sail really slowly and go behind red. Jane.
I understand about tacking away, but what if there's another boat on the other side of you?
Okay, I didn't want to get too much into starting rules, so I'll do this one, and this will be, and then we'll have another session later in the series on the starting rules. So what you're saying is if you're yellow, yeah, and you're sliding down into red, yes, and then above you here, you've got blue, yeah, okay, so you can't tack, can you? No, you can't tack. So actually, all you can do is slow down. Yeah, and drop out the back a little bit, and either then tack, or worst case scenario, go around the back. What you'll find is that if you're falling down to red, you're going to be going more slowly anyway. You will be slowed down by these other boats, and this is going to be inevitable. Okay,
so
you have to then tack out.
What would happen then if so you've got red, yellow and green, and yellow and green just starts and push red out of the way?
They can't. This boat is the leeward boat, and it has the right.
It has happened to me. I've tried once to be on the starting line, and I just got pushed away by all the boat that were windwards of me. So what are you supposed to do?
Okay, so in that circumstance, you need to assert yourself by shouting at them that they are windward boat and they need to keep clear. Okay.
Okay.
If they don't, we have to do a thing called a protest. Okay, so you have to say, windward boat, keep clear, or I will protest you. And what that means is that then after the race, we have a little discussion, like a little court hearing, so to speak, but much more informal, about what happened, and everybody gets to put their case, and we decide what we're going to do with it. Okay, but if they do that, if they do try and push you, and they might well be trying to do that, assert yourself. Okay, assert yourself and tell them that they're windward boat, they've got to keep clear. Easier said than done, I know. Okay, I am going to stop doing rules here. This is part of the danger of doing these things. They always will descend into a bit of a rules free for all. So what we're going to do is we're just going to Nikki spent ages last night slaving over a PowerPoint. We're going to have a look at that, and that's about the flags and signals and timing that happens at hunts. So are you screen sharing now?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I might
So-
need to screen share it like that. Not sure how to hit screen share once I'm in presentation mode. Let's see what happens. Share screen.
This is all just being done really in preparation for the AGM so that we can work out how it all works. Okay.
I could probably now go into see if I go into presentation mode, you won't be able to see anybody.
I'll have to deal with that.
Can you guys see my PowerPoint?
Yeah.
I'm not in presentation mode because then I can have more than one window open and Nessa can still see all of you. It doesn't matter. There's nothing fancy on it.
I thought that you'd be able to see the speaker anyway.
Sorry, I'm not in PowerPoint presentation mode. Not
Oh, okay, don't matter.
Okay, so how does the race start? We know, I hope, that we use a series of flags and sound signals, and at hunts, the sound signals go off at 3-minute intervals. Okay, next slide. Okay, so sometimes, especially in the winter, when there aren't many people racing, there will only be one start. So you can see there the blue and yellow flag is the all-comers start. I'm slightly nervous doing this in front of John because I know he is the race starting maestro. But if there's only one start, which tends to happen in the winter, then we typically use the all-comers flag, which means it's for everybody, okay? And it's important to notice that that's not the handicap flag, it's the all-comers flag, because we're all going to start at once. And very simply, there will be a 6-minute countdown. So you should have a racing watch with the ability to count down. You want to set that for 6 minutes. When you hear the first hooter and you see the flag go up, that's when you set your countdown. It's worth noting that the hooter is only there to let you know that the flag has gone up. So it's the flag that matters. The hooter is just there to help you realise that the flag has gone up. Okay, 3 minutes later, another hoot, the preparatory flag will go up. What do we know about the significance of that flag? Abby, can you remind us?
That's when we switch to the racing rules.
Yeah. So that's when we switch to the racing rules, and all sorts of other rules that we haven't talked about yet to come into force. And then 3 minutes later, both flags go down and off we go. We start, okay? So that's the very simplest of starts. Okay, so for some series, there will be 2 starts and the boats will be split into fast boats and slow boats. Have I got a slide on the division of fast and slow? No.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at this. If you're a fast boat, you will have a boat with a Portsmouth yardstick of less than 1,114, which is the same PY, I believe, as the 2000, and I'm sure Dirk will tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, as your Portsmouth yardstick gets lower, you got a faster boat. So low number means faster boats. If you're in something like a foiling moth, your Portsmouth yardstick is going to be something like 500 or 600. It's going to be really, really low. Okay, so some of you might see the boat that you're sailing up on that list. And then we have the slow slide. Okay, here's the slow slide. So if your yardstick is higher than that, you are likely to be one of the boats that you can see on that screen. Has anybody not seen the boat that they sail? Okay, the Portsmouth yardstick is a number that the RYA it assigns to boats at the start of every year based on data that they've received from clubs, and we can use that to do a magic sum. That means we can race different boats against each other and work out who's won. I'm not going to talk about that anymore. Okay, so can we go back to the fast and slow start? Here we go. So John, am I right in saying that this typically happens in morning races?
Yeah, yes, that's correct. It's the morning race when that happens.
And the fast fleet goes first?
Fast fleet goes first, and 3 minutes later the slow handicap start.
Great, okay, thank you. Next one. Okay, in the afternoon, things will be different. So this is when we're doing racing other than winter racing. In the afternoon, the boats are divided into their fleets. So all the lasers will start together, and then all the solos will start together. And then we have a fleet called the handicap fleet, and those boats all start together. So if you're not in one of the other two fleets, you'll be in the handicap fleet. And you'll notice that this is not the same as the all-comers flag. All-comers means everyone, handicap means whoever's not in the rest of the fleets. Have I got enough fleets there, John?
You have. There are times when the lasers and solos start together.
Great. And that'll be because there aren't enough of them to constitute a fleet?
That's not necessarily to constitute a fleet. There's probably only about 3 lasers and 3 solos sailing, so it's pointless having 2 separate starts.
Yep. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Now, I'm hoping that this is correct now. So in the morning, when we have a fast and a slow handicap start, this is typically what you will see. We had great fun setting this up last night, and I think eventually we've got it right. So the fast fleet starts first, okay, and you can see that 6 minutes for them to go. I'm going to retract there. The whole sequence for everyone will take 9 minutes. Okay, Tom is shaking his head.
Tom, you're on mute.
The P flag is meant to dip on the first start, not go down completely.
It doesn't usually dip. It's usually left up, Tom.
Oh, well, okay,
race officers would know that.
But if
yeah, okay. So what's important to note here is that this is what happens at hunts. Okay, this might not happen at other clubs. This is what happens at hunts. So the P flag might behave differently in other places, and also a lot of clubs will have 5 minutes between their starts. Some clubs do something altogether different and don't have flags at all. So at Grafham, for example, they just have numerals that go up and down, and I actually find that even more confusing. But if we're in the fast fleet, have we got anybody here that would be in the fast fleet? Abby, you would be in your D0, wouldn't you? I suspect you're the only one. Okay, so if you're in the fast, yeah. If you're in the fast fleet, you will see that flag go up. You'll hear a hoot, and that will tell you that you've got 6 minutes to go. 3 minutes later, that flag will still be up, and the preparatory flag will also come up, meaning we need to abide by the rules. For the fast fleet, 3 minutes after that, that flag will go down. So you start when your class flag comes down. So if we now move over and look at the slow fleet, the checkered flag, you will see that 3 minutes after the warning signal for the fast fleet, your flag comes up. Okay, that means you have 6 minutes to go. 3 minutes later, you will see that the prep flag is still there, okay, but the other fleet has gone. They're out of the way, they've started. 3 minutes later, and 6 minutes after you started your watch, you start, okay? So it looks confusing, it can be tricky to follow, but essentially if you've got 6 minutes set on your watch and you start your watch when your flag goes up, you will know that when your watch gets to 0, that is what you start on. And if you know what your flag looks like, you should be okay.
I'm lousy
Anybody
at
want
flags.
to ask anything?
I'm very bad with the flags.
What we're
so
going to yeah. I think that the key thing is that once you've been doing this enough, it becomes second nature. It's always the same at hunts, or should be. So if you just keep doing it, it will get more familiar. I think it's important not to expect to do brilliantly first time. Usually if I do brilliantly at first time at something, I know it's a fluke. So just be prepared to take time to bed into it. And if you're not sure, find someone you can ask. If you can find someone sailing a boat like yours and ask them, even better. Okay, next. Next flag, please. Okay, we've done that one. We've done that one. Mess up my timed run and I go over the line before the start gun goes. What will happen is you'll hear the start gun go, you'll see your flag go down, but you'll also hear one more hoot and you'll see this flag come up. If you're really lucky and you've got a friendly, helpful race officer, they will shout at you, you were over the line. And what you have to do is go back behind the line. You don't have to go around the boat, back behind the line. And you've done that, then that flag will go down. Okay? Happy with that? Nobody's going to say otherwise. Okay, next one. What if everyone starts too soon? This rarely happens at hunts. Individual recalls happen all the time. General recalls don't happen very often because everybody is really well behaved and nice. Be nice to think that. So if everybody starts too soon, you will still hear the start signal, but almost straight away you will hear 2 more hoots and you'll see this flag come up. Okay, this is the recall flag. It's got a fancy name, but we're not going to worry about that. This is the general recall flag. This means that everybody has to go back and start again. So if the fast handicap fleet has had a recall, they need to go back, get out of the way, because they are then going to start after the slow handicap fleet. That's what it says in the sailing instructions. Is it correct, John?
Yes, it is. Although some race officers will start the whole sequence again.
Yeah, it just depends on how much mayhem is happening. People are so unused to this that it can be a bit interesting. Okay, next flag. Oh, what if the start is delayed? So my favourite flag. So this can mean all kinds of things. So if we've set up our race course perfectly and then suddenly we get a big wind shift, then the race officer might think, oh, I need to change everything. This flag goes up, 3 hoots, and we wait. Okay, it might be because of a wind shift. It might be because the race officer has dropped his coffee on his foot. It could be anything. But when something goes wrong, like maybe the hooter's not going to work or whatever, we'll put up this flag and we will postpone the start.
It should only be 2 hoots. Vanessa, it should only be 2 hoots, not 3. It's 2 hoots.
Do I say 3 hoots? I've got carried away. Look, it says 2 there, John. You misread it. I'm getting my postponements confused with my abandonments. So this means that we wait. It might also be that suddenly the wind has dropped completely and nobody can get to the start in time. So we might postpone it for that as well. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, abandon ship. So this might happen. If you see this flag and it is 3 hoots, it means that the wind has, the race can't happen. Could be for any number of reasons. It could be because the wind has died completely. It could be because the first mark has disappeared. It could be because the wind has got too windy and the safety boats can't cope. This means that that race isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Now it can mean if you're somewhere doing something like an open meeting, they can combine this flag with another one and say that that race isn't going to happen. We're going to abandon it and never have it. This is I should say that this is a flag that comes up once the race has started, typically, not always. So it might mean that that race is never going to happen. It might mean that that race is going to happen in an hour's time, anything like that. But what it means is that you stop doing that race and you wait, go ashore, wait, see what's going to happen. Okay, it's been abandoned. Okay, next slide, please. How do I finish? Okay, so you'll see if you look on the course board that it might say number of laps 1,000 or 50 or something like that. It used to be that we mostly did try and sail a set number of laps, but what tends to happen more now is that we want to make the race last for around about 45 minutes to an hour. So when the first boat in the first fleet has been sailing for around that time, the race officer will, as that boat starts to come to the last mark before the finish line, will make 2 hoots and fly this flag, and that means that the next time you come through the finish line, which was also the start line, you're going to finish. Okay, if you go through the finish line and you don't hear a hoot, that might mean that you were over the line at the start or something's gone wrong. You didn't start properly, you didn't sail the right course, that kind of thing. So you should, as you cross the line, hear a hoot. Okay, are there any more slides? Okay, right, so I believe after that, I'll just ask if there's any questions and then we'll go to the quiz. Okay, the quiz is going to act as a sort of recap for everything that we've done so far. So if you get your phones or your iPads or whatever you're going to use to do the quiz, we'll call it up on screen and get the pin for you. We hope. If there are multiple questions, there should be on your screen a submit button that you can press to show that you've ticked as many boxes as you want to. There is one true or false question, so look out for that. And we have tried this time to give you more time. Okay.
God, no, it's not turning it off.
If you haven't got Kahoot, you can just play along anyway.
You don't need an app if you're on a laptop or anything, though. You can just go to the website.
Okay.
Vanessa,
Yes, Alfie.
is the code up?
It is now.
No, it won't be because I'm
Oh.
showing the wrong screen. Hold on.
I can see it, but you can't.
Yeah, I wanted to try and keep both screens
One
up. That's fine.
second.
Right.
Okay, can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1931998.
Right. Well done, Claire. First in. Oh, and Martin's here. Alfie, SS, pretty in pink. If you've got more than one person in your family thing, if they've got a phone or something, more than one person can join. Jay's. We've got Jay's, Dirk, Tom, Martha, pretty in pink, Sonia, SS, Alfie, Martin, and Claire. Is that anything, everybody?
Is that you, pretty in pink, Tom? Oh yeah.
No, I think it's probably.
No, I'm Tom LP, funnily enough,
Okay.
because I'm not pretty in pink. Doesn't go with my
Sarky
complexion.
Farky. Oh, fair enough. You're not a winter colour me beautiful.
Okay, is everybody in that wants to be in? Okay, let's go.
Life is there.
Is Maria in?
Maybe she's Snarky Farky.
No, that'll be Sally.
Oh yeah, pretty in pink.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
right,
is
everybody ready?
in?
So you need to be able to see this screen, but also have your screen with the ready to put the answers on, because the questions will come up on this shared screen. Don't click on the shared screen for the answers, it doesn't work. I've done that. So you just need to touch the colour that it matches.
Ah.
On your phone, not on the shared screen.
Oh, excellent. Well done. Good. My life is worthwhile. Next one.
So your scores are based on how fast you answer as well. Hence, you all got it right, but JS was the fastest. And it only shows the top 5.
Okay.
Oh. I pushed the wrong button.
Okay, I think I said 3 minutes on that one. So yes, if that flag's just gone down, it means that we're probably on the last start of a multiple start. Therefore, it will be 3 minutes.
Doesn't it go down at the start?
No, Tom.
Yeah, it does go down at the start. I agree.
Yeah.
It does at Hunt's, yes, but it should actually signify that there's 3 minutes to go, and therefore it goes down, and it should be the warning flag that goes down at the start.
Well, I got that one right, but I didn't mean to.
Okay. I'm gonna move hastily on that one because I've got.
Sonia's now in the lead. Alfie's moving up. Pretty in pink in second.
Okay.
What is a header?
This is a multiple.
Is it multiple?
Isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
So you may have to hit submit after you click the button this time because there's more than one answer.
Okay, so a wind
Oh, no, it
shift
wasn't
that
anyone else.
turns you away from the wind. Yeah, okay, well done everyone. A couple of people, oh yeah, away from your target. A couple of people put the yellow answer, I can't read that.
Towards your target.
Okay, so a header heads you away. Okay, next one.
Oh, Sonia's extending the lead. Claire's on her way up, and so is Amelia. So this one is a multi-select, so you need to hit submit after you've chosen however many things is the right answer.
Oh, everybody's thinking. Got 10 seconds to answer.
Your submit button, you might have to scroll up your screen. See, Sonia, I learned.
Good. That is good. So yes, the answers are red and green. What was 7?
Turbulence caused by the boat in front of you.
Okay, so remember, if a boat's directly in front of you, it's not going to be casting wind back at you. It's if it's in front of you and slightly to leeward. Okay, so in front of you, yes, but also in front of you and to leeward. Okay.
If you only answered one of those right, you get half marks, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, Claire's up there now. Look at that.
Well done, Claire.
What? Can't see. Oh. Ah.
5 seconds.
Is it Tom that makes those funny noises?
Yeah, yes, it's me. Sorry, I'm going to. I am having difficulty swapping from
Okay,
screen
so
to screen.
in some respects, can't multitask. So 7, we finish when we cross the line. 3 is sort of right, but that's more of a coincidental thing. Blue is sort of right. So the main thing to notice is that you are going to finish when you cross the line, when you see that flag. Okay, we don't finish where we are because we still need to complete the lap. And actually completing the lap is really important from the point of view of needing to do the calculations with the PY. Okay, right, next one. Oh, Leif's on fire. Okay.
Another multi-select.
Mr. Fernando. Yep, really good. Well done, everyone. I'm glad nobody said it was gravity and the tides. Okay. Great, good. That's really encouraging because knowing what your flag looks like is really important. So well done. Claire is still holding you off, but only justly.
You need to touch it all really quickly in the next one, Leif.
Right? True or false? Oh. Okay. So even just thinking about the two people that said blue, which said it's true there are no rules before the start. The preparatory flag, which comes in 3 minutes before the start, brings in the racing rules, and before that we need to comply with the collision regulations. Okay, so there are definitely rules before the start. Okay, good. Brilliant, good, well done everybody. Again, it depends on the wind direction. If the wind is coming nicely along the shore, we can use the race box, but if we can't, we use the committee boat. Okay, last one. What is this? Oh, Claire.
Look at that, 4 points between Pretty in Pink and Leif.
Okay, last question. Here we go. I can't remember what it is. Oh. Where's the picture? Excellent. Well done, everyone. That's really good. So they can go in there, can't they? Obviously, if there's plenty of room, they can go in there. They can't go in there if there isn't room, or they're going to either hit the committee boat or impinge on red. Okay, so well done.
On the podium, Leif.
Third, well done, Leif. Pretty in Pink, well done.
That was Maria, Pretty in Pink. Okay.
Claire, well done, Claire. Excellent, good. And I don't know what Claire would say, but Claire's definitely been joining in some of the racing, and I hope that has helped her to get such a good score. So well done. This Zoom and the PowerPoint will appear somewhere, either in a YouTube or maybe on Facebook. But if anybody wants to get sent any of it, just let me or Tom know, and we can send you the presentation. So hope you've all enjoyed that. Judging by the quiz, everyone's taken up lots of information. And again, if you have questions, send them to us and we'll try and deal with them next week. And if you've got requests for next week, which is going to be hosted by Tom, let us know. Tom, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I thought I would, I mean, it won't take up the whole session, but I thought I would do a session on the weather as it relates to racing, although Vanessa has done at least part of what I was going to do today. But if someone can make suggestions of what else they would like to do next week, I think we may have another guest presenter as well.
You did a really good weather one before for Women on the Water, so I've forgotten large parts of it, so I'm sure it'd be really useful to hear a lot of it again.
Yeah, well, I thought I would do one specifically for racing, because I think that was a more general weather one. I thought I would try and do one that was specifically for racing.
Okay, right, all good. So yeah, do get in touch if you want to know things, if you've got suggestions, or you just want to see the presentation again. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for joining in.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Vanessa.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, look, we've got a little heart from Sam.